Hey there, thanks for tuning into Duck Bricks. I'm Chris, and recently I got a chance to work with Marvel and Disney Plus to promote one of their brand new shorts and specials on Disney Plus for LEGO Marvel, Strange Tales, and because of that, they sent me the Hulk vs. Hulkbuster brand new LEGO special film moment set coming out on January 1st next year for me to review. This was a really cool build, and LEGO hasn't really done something like it where it's a relatively affordable set, but it's packed into a diorama that is collectible for adults but fun for kids to play with. I had a blast putting this one together. It comes with 2 exclusive minifigures as well, including Iron Man with arm printing, which looks awesome, and I can't wait to showcase it to all of you. And of course, if you're curious, I want to do a little bit of an overview of all of the different Hulkbusters we've gotten over the years. You can see some of the play scale ones right there, and this one is certainly one of the ones that is most to scale with the actual minifigures. It's a little larger than it should be, but I actually think it works very well for what it's trying to do. So without further ado, let's jump into my final early 2026 review, the Hulk vs. Hulkbuster. Here we have set number 76343, Epic Battle Hulkbuster vs. the Hulk, coming with 413 pieces and retailing for $50 US. It's part of a brand new series called the Epic Battle series, featuring some major movie moments in diorama-like forms that also can be treated as playsets for kids, so it's a bit of a 2-in-1. Adults can enjoy a collectible display piece, while kids actually get 2 different things they can play with in the set, the main Hulkbuster build and the Hulk. It's a really interesting concept for LEGO, because by itself, I could see them selling this without the stand and name plaque for maybe $30 or $35, with just the Hulkbuster and the Hulk, and that would have probably been enough and totally fine for kids. But to elevate it to something that also appeals to adults, they've added in this bit of scenery with sort of a bit of exploding rubble around them. There's a stand for you to pose the Hulkbuster, and altogether, the entire thing feels more, well, cinematic, and that was the entire intent behind this set, was to make this feel almost like a frame from a movie. They do this by utilizing a ton of different Technic beams to allow you to feel like you're experiencing the rubble breaking apart, including a printed 1x8 title saying Avengers Age of Ultron Hulkbuster vs. the Hulk, and of course having the entire build be focused on posing these 2 figures battling each other. It really helps that both of them are very large. You have the brick-built Hulkbuster as well as the big fig of the Hulk, and obviously the scaling is totally not right compared to the movie. The Hulkbuster is supposed to be around the exact same size as the Hulk, but you can't really do that as a buildable character, so they did the best they could, and honestly, compared to a lot of the other Hulkbusters, I would say this one is scaled a lot closer to what we see in the movies. And once you have the 2 different fighters removed, this is what the display base looks like, and honestly, I kinda like it. I feel like LEGO has been doing a lot of these great diorama sets, and some are better than others, but trying to finally do this at a smaller scale and focusing in on what's important and not having the budget balloon outwards so you're spending so much money on just kind of a piece of rubble is a very good direction for the LEGO Marvel theme, and I'm a big fan of how they were able to pull off a lot of the sculpturing there. Of course, you do have our look at the main Hulkbuster build itself, and this one is okay. I think that it is definitely good in a lot of ways and a little questionable in other ways, and I definitely have a lot of thoughts on it given that it's a buildable figure, and I have a lot of opinions because I love buildable action figures out of LEGO. It's what really got me into LEGO to begin with Bionicle, and this one is interesting. On paper, there are more points of articulation here than on most of the play-scale Hulkbusters. As you can see, you can move the legs back and forth, and the feet are also mounted on the mini ball joints or mixel joints. Unfortunately, though, there is pretty limited articulation in the feet. You can only kind of swivel them backwards and forwards, resulting in the standing position of the mech looking a little bit awkward. That being said, it is a little bit better in this regard than some of the other mechs because you can relatively easily stand it up on 1 foot and kind of put it into a walking pose, just thanks to how large the feet are and how light the rest of the model is. You do have waist articulation as well, which is done quite nicely, and of course, you do have the option to pose up the arms, but the arms are definitely the most interesting and honestly strange part of the model. First of all, you can angle the armor plates upwards and downwards on both the shoulders and the elbows, and then the arms are in a permanent fixed 90-degree angle, but you have the hands and elbows on individual rotating joints. I don't really know if I love that feature, but it definitely would have been better than nothing in terms of articulation at all. all. I know some Hulkbusters don't even have any sort of elbow articulation, so I guess being able to rotate them works okay, but it certainly is a little strange because you still are stuck at the right angle. You do have the option of swapping out the wrists here, so you can have the punching fist wrist, which is quite nice. It is really cool how that is compatible, so during your play, if you have the Hulk like rip off one of the arms, you can swap it out with this other arm here, which is actually built into the stand as an extra fist flying around ready to punch the Hulk. I think that is a really cool addition to the set. But honestly, I don't know if it was worth sacrificing any more elbow articulation just to allow you to swap out the arms. Instead of mounting it on an axle, they could have easily mounted it on a ball joint, and I feel like that would have worked out totally fine. Of course, you do have the option to move around each of the fingers and pose them up too, plus the golden armor plates on the front arm elements can move back and forth, and even some of the back fins, which really helps make it seem like there are different pieces of armor clinking together, which is exactly how it's supposed to work. You raise up both of the front chest plates, lower the straps, and then you have the helmet raised downwards for the top of the model. It's a really fun model to just play around with and just move all the little different bits and pieces that are mounted on clips. I actually do really like the amount of things you can do with it, but altogether, I do feel like I struggle a bit with posability, especially on something that's meant to be a good display model. Having the arms be at those fixed 90-degree angles really does hurt it a lot. Still, I do think that the cockpit is one of the better cockpits we've seen for a Hulkbuster so far. It does suffer from a little bit of the arc reactor being mounted a bit lower on the chest than it should, almost similar to that very abysmal large-scale $500 Hulkbuster we got a few years back. This actually seems to share a lot of the same design cues as that one, which is kind of funny. I feel like they should have learned from some of the mistakes there, but other than that, I do think that it is genuinely okay to pose. And having each of the arms being segmented into 3 different rotating elements does help a little bit in terms of just kind of tricking the eye and making it feel like this is more posable than it lets off. Otherwise, I actually do quite like the mechanical detail here, especially on the legs. You have just a slightly more elevated amount of detail as opposed to your standard playable Lego Hulkbuster with these 1x3 rounded elements on the sides of the legs. You even have the gold armor plating tilted forwards on the arms. So altogether, there are a lot of things that I do actually like about the model. But moving on from that, I do want to take a bit of time to talk about the minifigures, well, I guess minifig and big fig included in the set. This is your standard Hulk big fig, but he does come with a brand new head for the set. You have the print on the eyes showcasing the reddened eyes while he was under the control of the Scarlet Witch, showcasing he's kind of in his crazy rage mode, and I think that is a really, really cool headpiece print to get. Obviously, the legs are the same ones that came in the Age of Ultron sets that came prior, but I think that this is a pretty nice rendition of the Hulk, and the new head that's exclusive to the set, and that will probably remain exclusive to this, really does a lot to elevate it and make it feel a little bit more special. Of course, one of the big improvements they've made to big figs is that you can now rotate the heads just like standard minifigures, which is a major plus. Now, if only they were able to figure out a way to move the legs as well and to give us more big figs other than just Hulk and Thanos in this style. I'd love to see something a little bit more. But of course, speaking of figures, the star of the set is Iron Man. Now, Iron Man receives a complete overhaul for the set. It's based off of the armor he wore in Age of Ultron, but they have actually gone ahead and printed the arms this time, really making this figure feel a lot more deluxe. And this is something I hope that we will consistently see this level of quality going forwards in these epic battle sets, which really are meant to depict these important moments in the movies. Iron Man also receives a brand new head print for this particular lineup for Marvel. He has the same head in the buildable Iron Man figure, and it is fantastic, featuring the trademark grin on one side, and on the other, he's actually wearing his sunglasses, which is a brand new print. We haven't seen that before, but it works so well for the character. Altogether, this is one of my favorite minifigures of Iron Man they've done so far, and the arm printing just adds so much in terms of detail to the character itself. Overall, for $50 US, again, this is a Lego Marvel set after all, I feel like the value here is a little bit closer, at least compared to some of the other sets we've gotten in recent history, because recently, Lego Marvel has not been priced very well, and I definitely like that this one does feel a little more reasonable in terms of value, but I'm gonna be honest, after looking at what you get, would it have been better to get a Hulkbuster and Hulk set without all the extra display stuff for maybe $30 or $35? Well, it really depends on what you want to do. I actually think this makes for a really dynamic display piece, and it certainly looks a lot better on a shelf as opposed to just the Hulkbuster and the Hulk by itself. So in terms of a display display piece, I think that this actually is a bit elevated. Maybe the value feels like it should be closer to 40 or 45, but in terms of a cohesive display, I do like it for what it is, but for play value, I feel like you basically get the same amount of play that you would get out of a standard Hulkbuster and Hulk set that you could sell for a lot cheaper, so it really depends on what you personally want to get out of a set like this. If you prefer to display things, this is a great set for you, but if you are more the kind who likes to play with Lego and just play around with it as figures and toys, then maybe don't get this one unless it goes on sale, because aside from the Hulkbuster and Hulk, there's not much you can do with the display stand if you don't have them mounted on it. Otherwise though, I do think that it is a nice direction for Marvel to be giving us these epic battle sets based off of movie moments that won't necessarily break the bank. For all things considered, $50 is not crazy compared to the amounts they're charging for a lot of the other Diorama play-based sets, so I hope that this is a nice new direction for the LEGO Marvel team to realize that they don't need to charge hundreds of dollars for these Diorama sets. You can do it at a smaller scale like this. Overall, that about sums up my thoughts on the set. Hope you enjoyed my very last early review that I'll be doing, because I left the LEGO Ambassador Network, so I will not be doing any more early reviews other than this one, and I only got this one early because this was not actually through the LAN. This was gifted to me by Marvel, who gave it to me to help film a video to promote LEGO Marvel Strange Tales, and you know what? As a celebration of that, I've included my very first draft of that video. It's a much longer version of the one that I eventually released at the end of this video to wrap up this review, and hopefully you can get a little bit of amusement from it, because yes, all of the voices in that video are just me doing different voices for the villains. So, hope you enjoy, and thanks for watching. Let's run that right now.
My allies, I have discovered the ultimate weapon to destroy the Avengers once and for all.
Anything to get rid of my pesky brother.
We will finish them!
I hope it eats Spider-Man!
This device will summon a monstrosity, the likes of which they have never seen.
Is it a rhino?
Maybe it is a boar. I don't know. Got something to do with cat food, I think. Even better, my compatriots in crime. Even better.
They'll never see it coming.
Mr. Stark, some sort of monstrosity is rampaging through New York. What do we do?
Jarvis, clearly this monster has never faced my Catbuster. Robotic systems fully merged. Arm cannons docked in. Arc reactor powered up. I have a mission and I cannot fail. Iron Man just entered the party.
Never mind. Guess I'll have to fight it myself.
Jarvis, it's got me! Ah! Iron Man has exited the party. It's coming for the tower. I can't stop it. My rematch is coming! I can feel it! No!
This monstrosity is on my tail.
If Avengers Tower falls, it'll be a cataclysm! No!
We are victorious. The Avengers have been defeated.
That's great, boss, but
Who will save us from the monstrosity now? Oh